Hello, I'm David.
Hi, I'm Julie.
Welcome to part 5 of our top 50 games of 2022.
Woo.
We're going to do now our top 10. Hopefully you've had a chance to check out the other parts where we even talked about, we played 53. We even talked about the 3 games that we didn't include on the list. So our number 10, and Julie goes first. Which one is it?
Marvel Dice Throne.
Well, you liked it more than I did.
Because I get to play Black Panther.
Okay. So out of the other Dice Thrones, you obviously like this one.
I like this one the best, yeah.
Because Santa versus Krampus is also on our top 50 list here.
Awesome.
So this has a Yahtzee mechanic. We're going to roll the dice up to 3 times to trigger abilities. It's also a hand management game like Magic the Gathering with phases, a main phase, a roll phase. We're going to be playing cards to upgrade your characters, to manipulate the dice, and to do instants, for instance, to affect your opponent's dice. And it's a player versus player. You win by reducing your opponent down to 0 points. And you have abilities you can use, so you'll see there's tokens on the right there, because it's the Miles Morales version of Spider-Man. He can go invisible. And Black Panther has the kinetic energy and such. So why did you rate this your number 10?
Well, because I get to play Black, and I love playing Black Panther. I love it, which makes this really fun for me to play. And I like the Yahtzee component to it. I like being able to roll the dice. I love dice. If you guys have seen our other videos, you know I'm a big dice person. I think the art is really neat. And as David had mentioned in the previous video, it's fun to play these, what do you call them, IPs?
Well, you like the intellectual property, the Marvel version, rather than the original version of Dice Throne, where it's made up characters that you don't really understand their backgrounds as much.
And you know, I like, because I've seen almost all the Marvel movies, so I can really put, you know, a face to this character I'm playing. I know who he is. I know what he's about, and it just adds to it, for me at least. For me, it just brings me right into it, and I just love it. Okay,
so my number 10 is, you didn't rate this one as well, but it's Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Yeah, I knew you'd rate that
which
higher.
is based on the Pandemic system, and this is the best version of Pandemic in my opinion, and I'll explain why, if I can find it here. We have almost all the versions of Pandemic. Used to be that the Cthulhu version is pretty good. Still well done. But this one, what I like about it is it's cooperative just like Pandemic, but what makes it different is that it's a hand management part where you want to play your cards and use your cards. You do not lose if you cycle through your cards. You lose if and that's nice too, you have more variability with the villains here. So we're playing Asajj Ventress, and you can go against General Grievous or Count Dooku. What does it borrow heavily from Pandemic is the droid army. It spreads like disease, and you can get blockades, which if you get too many blockades out, you can lose. If you run out of droids, you can lose. So it's just very thematic implementation of using the Pandemic system in a good way. And the dice is pretty cool there. I forgot to mention that it adds just enough, a little bit of variability of luck there, that when you do go try to defeat droids, you can add in dice to give you that little advantage. So for me, it's thematically fun with high replay because of the different villains. It's engaging deck building because you are adding cards, and you might have to save cards to complete certain missions. So you have cards with that are stealth, combat, transport. And you even have special cards. It's cooperative with less alpha. It's not prone to alpha play as other versions of Pandemic. It has quality art miniatures, and then there might be some Jedi power issues. For instance, Ahsoka, I don't understand why her power is the way it is, but whatever, they had to give her something to do, I guess. It just doesn't match her power in the TV show. But it's a challenging rulebook to play correctly. Unlike the original Pandemic, which has scores very high in my performance list of rulebook readability, this one would have some issues. So some people may not play it correctly. But other than that, it is the best version of Pandemic I have played to date.
Okay.
What is your number 9?
Clank Catacombs.
Clank Catacombs. So this is the cooperative. Well, no, not cooperative. I'm sorry.
It's not cooperative.
I messed up on that. It is the variable board layout of
Yes.
Clank. So instead of having a set board where all the locations are preset, you have tiles that you're going to review as you explore. It's still a deck building game, a race game where you're trying to get your artifact and get out before your opponent does. So it has a lot of the same rules as regular Clank, except that you have a modular board, you have ghosts that can go into the bag and then come out and then go back into the bag that can cause damage. And it has some additional things that can give you gold. Oh, you have prisoners that you can rescue that give you points. So it adds a bunch of new rules, but doesn't make it overwhelming.
No.
So why is this your number 9?
Number 9. I think it's a really cool take on the game by using the tiles. It's kind of nice. It makes it so the replayability is really fun, because you know it's going to be different every time you play the game, as opposed to just having the regular board. You know what you're going to have to do each time. But this way, you don't know what you're going to get each time you're going to play, which I think is really cool. It's really easy to learn, easy to play. I like the new ghosts and the prisoners and stuff. I think that's a really neat addition to this game. And I think that the playtime seems to be longer, though, with two players, which is the only downside for me, is because I love Clank, but I don't want to play it forever.
The reason why it's longer, because unlike the original version of Clank, you just can't run in and run out.
Right.
You're going to reveal more tiles. It's going to be a more involved game. So when you say that it's easier to play and learn, for hobbyists it is.
Okay.
For people who don't play deck builders,
right.
There's enough going on here where someone who's new to the hobby, they better play with an experienced person. So my number 9, you didn't rate that well. And that is, I mean, you still like it, of course, but is Marvel United X-Men. Now, it's number 9. Now, some people might say, well, that came out in 2021. Yes, the core game technically did come out in 2021 if you did the split shipping. However, all the expansions, the other 90% of the game came out in 2022. And it introduced a villain mode here where you can have one player be the villain. So you can play cooperatively, which is what we love, but you can also play where one player is the villain. Now, it's not, here's the interesting thing. I rate this a 9. But the original Marvel United, I rate a 10 because I identify more with the non-mutant Marvel characters. What happens there was a time in the 90s and 80s, they started introducing all these mutants and they had all these issues of mutants. I just lost track of everything that was going on. It was easy for me to keep track of the other heroes in the Marvel Universe. So there's stuff that's going on in these expansions, like I have no idea who that person is. Whereas in the original Marvel United, I can tell you a lot more about those heroes. So it's only because of familiarity I don't rate this as high as the regular Marvel United, but it does add more variability. And what you see us playing there is the upgraded cardboard and plastic pieces mode. So it's number 9 because we played Marvel United a lot. For 2022, it's rated high. But if you had to compare it to the original Marvel United, I rate the original Marvel United higher.
Higher.
Right, because it's just more of the expansions we'll play. We've played through almost all. I think we played through all the Marvel United original.
Really? Wow.
But we haven't played all of the X-Men ones yet because we just don't know them that well.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your number 8?
Foundations of Rome.
Well, what you see behind me here,
Yes.
you can tell which games we haven't talked about yet. If you've been watching our other videos. It's interesting that you only rate that an 8.
Well, I have other ones that I like more.
Well, let's go over it first. At first, we didn't back this. Then we saw it at Dice Tower West, and I was able to order a copy despite not having backed it. And this is the Kickstarter edition with it's all blinged out with the expansions. Now they just did another Kickstarter campaign, so we're going to be getting the expansion soon. So what you're doing here is that it is a abstract strategy game where you are placing buildings, trying to score the most points through triggering things. For instance, if you have certain buildings adjacent to other buildings, whether they're yours or owned by someone else, you get points. So it's score the most points game after 3 eras. And it is competitive in that you are drafting or doing open drafting there. So if I get G4, I may deny Julie the ability to play something on G4. because you're basically using those cards to reserve plots. And if you get those plots before someone else, that means you might deny them the ability to place a building of better quality, because you can see the buildings are of certain size. So you have to acquire plots ahead of time to place buildings of that size. So it is over 3 eras, whoever gets the most victory points wins. So why is this only an 8, Julie? Why isn't it
It's only an 8. Because it did take me a minute to really get the hang of it. But once I got the hang of it, I was like, okay, I can be kind of competitive in this. And it's really fun, whether we played with just David and I, we've played this with my brother-in-law and his oldest son. It's just a really fun family game. And what I like is I'm not huge on abstract games, but this one I can handle, because once again, the cards are out in the open, so I can spend time while everyone else is thinking about what they're going to do. I can spend time okay, this is where I want to go. Hopefully I can get that card. Okay, what if I don't get that card? I'll try the next card, and this is what I'm going to put in there. So I can plan ahead, which helps. If I didn't have those cards in front of me, I don't think I would have rated this as high. I think the pieces, because we do have the blinged out version, they're awesome.
Well, right now it's all blinged out.
Oh,
they may come out with a cardboard version eventually.
Oh.
But eventually, it's only been sold on Kickstarter so far.
Okay. Well, I love the components. I just think it's a really pretty game when you get it all done. The scoring can be a little at first for me, but I have David to help me with that. But it's just a really enjoyable family game. I really, really like it.
Yeah, and it has an amazing table presence, which I haven't talked about it yet, so you know that I gave it even
way higher, yeah.
All right, my number 8 is Don't Go In There, which you see behind us, where you can use the box as a dice tower. So we do like push your luck games, and this is one of the best ones to come out in a while. Where if we had to do a top 10 push your luck games, this would be rated very highly. So you are teenagers going into a haunted house, and you're trying to avoid getting so many haunts, but you are going to get haunted no matter what you do. And it's a set collection game, because you are going to take cards on purpose to try to remove haunts. So the way you win or lose is you're trying to avoid having the most haunts. And sometimes you're going to collect cards to remove haunts, but you're also going to be getting haunts as you get them. So it's very much your management of a negative resource as you collect cards that will either help or hinder you. And then it is enough player interaction, because you see that when you go into a location, you get flashlights. And depending on the location, if you take the first location, you won't get any flashlights. So when you drop the dice into the dice tower, you're going to get more ghosts. Actually, I think you do get one. No, you get 0 flashlights if you want the first position. So if you have the first position, you're going to get to choose the card you want. But then you're going to get more ghosts, which will give you more haunts. If you take the further back position and get flashlights, you can remove ghosts that are rolled, but you might not get the card that you want so much. So it has really interesting decisions, and there's some abilities that you have when you go into the room that can change things up. So why do I have this as an 8? Well, it's a thematic set collection push your luck game, because you are pushing your luck when depending on what position you take and what sets you're going for. Because you might be going for cats, for instance, but you need 3 cats to remove haunts. And if you don't get that third cat, I don't remember exactly if it was cats, but
I know what you mean.
Or the twins. Sometimes, because you get to select what cards you want to play with, and then you remove a certain amount of them, so you can't card count. So because twins, you need pairs. When you do twins, you may take a twin, but not know that the other twin's in the deck. And if you do have both twins, you can remove them, which means it removes negative points.
Right.
So it has a cool dice, tower and dice. The cards are average and has cheap ghost counters. They should have charged more for the Kickstarter to make the pieces better. Hopefully they upgrade that in the future. It has interesting decisions and player interactions for the game weight. It's very light, but just enough player interactions that it doesn't bog down and it plays quickly. And it does have some minor rule issues, though. It may be challenging for less experienced players because of the interactions of the cards. But it is a great family game with math connections. I could see using this in the classroom, for instance.
During Halloween time?
Well, definitely you're going to play this during Halloween, but we've played it when it's not Halloween.
This is true.
So that is Don't Go In There. What is your number 7?
Scooby-Doo, the board game.
Scooby-Doo, the board game.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about that one
No, we
yet.
haven't.
This was also a Kickstarter. Now, it's interesting. It did come out in 2022.
Oh.
But Board Game Geek, what is it? I'm trying to see. Where is that right here? There it is. Oh, wrong camera. Yeah, I'm failing all around there.
You're okay,
So this is a cooperative game. You play different members of the mystery gang, and you have different ghosts. Now, they don't call them ghosts in here. They call them monsters, which is weird.
Oh, I think that's right. They do, yeah.
And each character has one ability they can use during the game. And it's a set collection game. But it's really cool that it has somewhat of a programming element to it, where you're not going to know the other players that you're cooperating with are going to pick, and you want to pick cards with low enough numbers that sometimes you want to go before the ghost. So you see how the ghost had a 41 there. We're going to get to do all of our actions before the ghost goes. And you got to worry, for instance, about getting too many locations haunted. You can lose that way. Or if, I forget the other way you can lose. Oh, you run out of cards. So you got it's also a deck, a hand management game. That you got to be careful if you burn through too many cards or if you take too long to defeat the ghost. So it's a cooperative a game. Definitely that represents the first season of the cartoon series.
Yeah.
So why is it your number 7?
Well, I love the theme. I mean, it's Scooby-Doo. You can't go wrong with that. And it's cooperative. So it's like a double positive whammy. I think the miniatures are really just, they're amazing. They are so cool.
We have the Kickstarter version, so they're pre-painted.
Oh, yeah.
The retail version, I guess, are not going to be painted.
Well, the painted ones are just amazing. I love them. It does play really quick with 2 to 3 players, which is fun. So you could, play real fast and play it again if you want.
Which we've done.
We've done.
Yeah.
The art on the board is look at that. I mean, it's just so great. You feel like you're in one of the cartoons. And it's real easy to learn and play. And those are all big positives for me. So that is why I made it my number 7.
Okay, my number 7 is King of Monster Island, which we talked about in the previous video. I rated it higher because I will play this over King of Tokyo.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why I'll play it over King of Tokyo, because it's cooperative. So you see here you have a volcano, and you're going to drop dice that represents a boss monster you're trying to defeat together. That's the boss monster in the left-hand corner there. Before the boss opens up a parallel dimension to destroy the Earth, to take it over. So you, just like regular King of Tokyo, you can spend your energy to upgrade cards. You're going to use the Yahtzee mechanic to roll the dice up to 3 times to take abilities. The thing is, it introduces a footprint to move around, or you can use it to do 1 point of damage, and now claws you 2 points of damage. You can get allies, where you spend your fame to get allies to help you. The boss has minions, that's those tokens around there. So where the dice are, the boss is going to move to where the dice are and carry out its actions. So it's a race game, because if he gets those 3 pillars open, then you lose, or if any one player is defeated, you lose. So why I like this so much.
Why do you like it so much?
Yeah, so it's cooperative, push your luck boss fight match. It's very much in the vein of Pacific Rim and Godzilla movies.
Oh, yeah.
It's a cool theme, art and mechanics, and surprisingly strategic with agonizing actions at times, because we've tried to play the most difficult mode, and you can get overwhelmed very easily. So that can be a negative, though, because it is swingy with the dice, and when you're pulling the minions out of the bag, you can get messed over sometimes, because some minions have to be destroyed before other ones.
Right.
So it avoids alpha player issues, because there's enough options here where you have maybe 2 or 3 things you can go. So you're not going to be in one of those situations where one player says, we better do this or we're going to lose. It might be, well, you might want to do that, or you may want to do this. So you have more discussions without that you must do kind of thing. Some pieces are quality, others are average to below average. It does have, I'm not too sure about the player count balance. If it's harder with 2 players or easier with 3, we're not sure about that. And you see that the stands there's a negative though. The stands are a little too wide, So we had to use sticky note to keep the
Oh,
boss
that's
and the
right.
characters in their
I forgot
stands.
about that.
So that's only a little negative that
Yeah.
they'll slip out. So that was number 7. What's your number 6?
You already talked about this. Don't go in there.
Don't go in there. So you rated it better than us.
I really liked it.
And one thing about this game is our son likes it.
Yes. Which is fun
His
because we
favorite-
found one that he can.
Well, his favorite style game is push your luck games.
Yes.
So tell us, why is this your number 6?
Well, I think it's a cool set collection game. I think the art on the cards is just really fun, except for the clowns.
Yeah.
We do not do the clowns. I'm just telling you right now, no, we don't do the clowns. It plays really fast with multiple players. Even with 2 players, it plays fast, which is nice. And I really have fun with the dice tower. I really like
it's
playing
really
with
cool.
that. That is just really fun.
It's one reason why we backed to Kickstarter. So that's cool.
It's really cool, and it's easy to play.
And they glow in the
and
dark.
learn. And
The
they glow
ghost
in the
dice glow in
dark.
the dark. Yeah.
And it has dice. I mean, come on, you can't beat dice. It's just
Well, you
a fun game.
You love dice games.
I do love dice games.
Okay, so my number 6 we've already talked about is Clank Catacombs. I rated it.
Oh, you rated it more than me.
Yeah, I gave it a lower number than you did.
Well,
And that's because it is, if you want to play a more involved version, it has more replayability. So it has a randomized deck building dungeon crawl race game in the Clank universe, so you can combine these cards with the other versions of it. It is compatible with previous editions. It does have improved readability, increased danger. Oh no, sorry, improved replayability. It has increased danger with more push your luck and added resource management, because I forgot to mention this, you have to manage your lockpicks.
oh gosh, yeah.
And you can use those lockpicks to free prisoners, to get through locked passageways.
Right.
So now it adds that as a resource. Whereas before, if you got the lockpick set in the treasure room in the market, you can move through locked doors all you want. Here, you only have so many of them. Where am I at? So it is a longer playing time. It's more AP prone, and it could have a camping issue though.
I don't
So
know
it
what that
may,
means.
and so this might not stay as 6. There is a concern I have that if before you leave, the original version, if someone leaves, then the countdown begins.
Right, right.
You only have so many turns before you have to get out. And this, if you leave, you'll get more. You'll draw more cubes out of the bag. But it could be 3, 4, 5, or more turns before the cubes will go away. So what could it eventually lead up to is that you can wait by the entrance and just get more cards.
That's a
And
good
eventually,
point.
you will lose. If both players will lose, not lose, but you'll get knocked out and not get the bonus token. So there could be a situation where you're going to wait at the exit until the other player is ready to go too. So I'm not too sure that might be a problem. Has decent art. Has mixed component quality. Some pieces are better than others. The rulebook is improved, but it still has issues. The PDF, for instance, is not searchable. It does have a solo mode through the publisher app, which we haven't tried yet. And a neutral it has no cooperative mode.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that when we want to play Clank, do we play a set board like the Mummy? We know it's going to play quicker. But if we want to play a more involved version of Clank, we'll play this one.
Right.
And the reason why it's a top 10 because they did a really good job with it, and and Clank's one of our favorite games.
Oh, definitely.
So what is your 5?
Dog Park.
Dog Park. You rated it that high, and even though you haven't chosen to play it, I didn't rate it as well. But
I haven't chosen to play because you are having me play so many other games right now. And by the time we're done, recording, you're like, well, let's play one more game. I just can't think. So, yeah,
Okay,
it's
let's go
on your
here.
fault.
Okay, so Dog Park is a set collection game. You're going to bid on different dogs. You will collect 8 dogs by the end of the game. And you'll see on the right there, you'll be randomized which dogs are worth more points. So, for instance, terriers might be worth more points than working dogs. At some point, then, you're going to use your resources to walk your dogs. You can walk up to 3 dogs from your kennel on the path there. And when you're on the path, that's where you can collect resources and points. And the resources that you need to walk a dog are like treats, toys, sticks, things like that. So the game will be done after 3 rounds of bidding and walking. And is it 3 rounds? No.
4 rounds.
4 rounds, yeah, 4 rounds.
Yeah.
And it's whoever scores the most points wins. Now, when you play with 2 players, it does have a auto walker, which means it has a AI opponent which makes it more playable at 2 players. The game wouldn't work too well without an AI opponent.
True.
Because what can happen is the walker can deny you from collecting points on having the most terriers. If you have the most terriers and that dog is worth 5 points, it might be the auto walker has the most terriers and you don't get the points for the terriers that you're collecting.
Yep.
So why did you rate that rated a 5?
First and foremost, it's about dogs, and I'm a huge dog. As you can see by my shirt in the video, I'm a dog mom, so that was big key right there. And it's a really cool set collection game. I like that. The art is really neat, and what I really also liked was that on the text it tells about the dog, which was a really neat way to learn about different breeds, which I thought was really, really cool because you don't know all the breeds. The only bummer part, though, is that not all breeds are represented, so that was kind of a downside for me. I think the components are really nice. It plays really smooth, and I love the art, and I had a good time with it. I really, really liked it.
Right, and your bidding that you do, you're bidding the victory points. Mm-hmm. So if you really want a dog, you can get it, but then you'll lose victory points getting that dog.
Right.
Now, my only problem is with the game is that why do you need toys, sticks, and treats to walk a dog?
Because if you go to the park, they're going to want to play.
The resource management part is pasted on. Everything else about it, now, what I argued in the review that it should be health, food, things like that. Those are the resources that you need, and those are expenses.
Yeah, but you're going to the park.
And grooming would be something you'd want to do. But to have that stuff, why does this dog need 2 toys?
Because he's going to the park to play with his buddies.
Okay. It doesn't make sense that this particular dog needs 2 toys and a treat, and this dog needs a stick. It doesn't. Well, it is what it is. But that's why I didn't rate it as highly, because they could have did other resources, like I said.
I'm not as intense as he is about it.
Well, from a game design standpoint, they could have made it more logical.
Okay, Spock.
So my 5, yeah, there you go, Spock, is Flamecraft, which means you haven't talked about it yet. You've rated it even higher. Mm-hmm. Flamecraft is a set collection resource management game where you're going to use it's a worker placement. You're going to move your dragon to different shops to carry out actions, to spend resources, to do enchantments. And as you do enchantments, it improves the shop. So it's a really cool building game. Now the game ends when you run out a certain amount of dragons in the park that you will place in the shops, or you use all the enchantments. So it's a score the most points game. Now this is the Kickstarter edition, so it has upgraded components. Oh. So why do I like this game as a 5? Now at first I backed it at the $1 level. I wasn't too sure if the company was going to come through with delivering it, so I didn't fund it. It was because they had another game going on at the same time that hadn't shipped yet.
Oh, gotcha.
I was able to acquire the Kickstarter edition anyways after the campaign. Luckily, they did come through with it. So I did rate it an 8 at first. Now it's a 9. And we haven't even played with all the optional rules yet. So it's a cute, light, medium weight worker placement race game. Because you're racing. The game is going to end when decks run out. So that's why it's a race game, because you can make it run out quicker. You'll see with the playthrough, I'll use up certain cards on purpose because I know I might be foiling Julie's plans. If I make the game end sooner, somebody might not be able to carry out something that they're going for.
True.
It has quality components, cute and beautiful art. It does have some player interaction. Like I said, you can deny people things, you can block them, but it's not too mean. Mm-mm. It's a minimal take that with some positive interaction. That's what's nice thing about this, that you can take actions to where if you do something, you got to share with an opponent. That's nice. It does have some analysis paralysis with competitive players. If someone really wants to sit there and do the most optimal action, the game could become unbearable. I won't play this game with somebody that is that competitive.
Yeah.
So that's the only warning I have. I just want to have fun and not make it a tournament game where I can see it becoming with other players.
Well, I agree.
Okay, what's your number 4?
Magic Mountain.
Magic Mountain.
When we saw this at, I think it was Gen Con.
No, it was Dice Tower West.
Oh, it was Dice Tower West. I'm like, we got to have this. This is so much fun.
We're friends with one of from Mayfair.
Yeah.
Who now works for Amigo, and he showed it to us, and we definitely wanted to get it. And then we got it at Gamma. When we went to Gamma.
Is that when we got it?
Yeah, that's when we got it.
Well, I love this game.
And did I explain this already?
Maybe in the previous video. Now that I think about it.
Okay, so what you're doing there, it's basically based on Plinko, where you're
Pachinko.
Yes, that's one. There's two ways to say it.
Oh, okay.
So you're trying to get your good wizards down to the bottom before the evil witches get there to steal the staff from your mentor, the wizard. So you're going to drop marbles in certain paths, and based on if it hits. So you saw there it hit the good student with a blue marble, and now the student moved to the next part of the path that's blue. If you get 4, and this is the easy version, if you get your 4 students down to help the mentor, you win the game. But if so many witches get down, you lose the game. And it's cooperative because you can discuss how you want, where you want to place the marbles. You're working together to prevent the witches from winning. So why did you rate this a 4?
Because it's a super fun family cooperative game. The components are awesome. The board is so cool. I love how it's like a 3D part where those plants or trees are like stick up more. I just think it's really neat. The marbles feel really fun in your hand. The playtime is decent. And I just found it to be like, it could almost be a filler game because it does not take that long to play. And we'll even play this with our son, which makes me
Yeah, this is one of the few children's
happy.
games that we will play as adults. And we've played it multiple times with multiple people. We'll say, hey, you should check out this game. It's one of those
And they
things.
love it. They absolutely love it. So I was really happy when we first saw it, and I just told David we have to get this someday. And luckily we did, and I love it.
All right, so my number 4 is, this is one we have to do on camera. We are filming the episodes of this. We're going to do all 10, it's actually I think more than 10, of the campaign. This is Conan, the campaign mode, cooperative mode. So that means that the overlord there's not a player who's the overlord. Here's the rules for the solo cooperative mode. And we're going to play, so you have a pre-scenario. You'll see us upload the Captain's Blood. We played scenario 1 and scenario 2. I love the Conan system. Julie loves Hero Quest because it's very simple.
Yep.
I prefer Conan because it's just enough complexity, and I love the fact that it's more adult-oriented. I mean, you're just wailing on things. I mean, when you're playing Conan, you feel like you're Conan. So it's not rated as high as other games because Julie doesn't like to play it as much as I do. So it's 9 for me. It's very much enjoy playing. It's cooperative. It has campaign. It has 10 scenarios. When you're playing, you almost feel like you're losing. And then the first 2 that we played, it's so well designed that you got to play smart. Okay, and you can get some swingy rolls. But if you pull it out, you really do feel like, oh wow, we got through that. Whereas Hero Quest oftentimes feels a little too easy. Or sometimes the scenarios are designed so badly, it's too difficult. So far, it's just right. And so I think it's a great system, the Conan system.
I kind of figured he'd put that up there really high.
What
I
is
was
your
right.
number 3?
3 Sisters.
3 Sisters. Wow, that much, huh?
Yeah, it was an 8, and I moved it to a 9. That's how much I really enjoy this game.
That's interesting because it's so thinky.
Well, I think the reason why I changed it is because you helped with those beads. That really helped me visualize things better.
Well, let me explain the game. So this is a roll and write game where you have different parts. You see that there's 2 sides. We connected them together for the camera there. You're going to roll the dice, and then based on how the dice roll, you're going to select what actions you can do, and what areas of your farm you're going to manipulate. So you have the upper left side there, where you're going to be growing corn, beans, and pumpkins, and that's based on an indigenous agricultural system where you grow corn first, and then the beans are able to use the height of the corn to grow onto it, and then the pumpkins, the squash, are able to help add nitrogen to the soil and help with pests. You have your perennials, your flowers that you can grow. On your right, you have your farm technology and fruit and honey, and then on the bottom right, you have your market. So it's definitely a dice management, but not so much dice management that you can't do what you can definitely find something to do with it. And there's more things you can do in your farm than you could possibly get done in one game. So why is this your number 3? That's pretty high up for such a thinky game.
I know. Well, I just found it to be a super fun roll and write game. I I really just got sucked into this thing. I think it's a really neat, interesting theme. Now that I know what it's based on, I really admire it. It can be easy though to forget to follow through with all the actions, so that's why David brought out those little beads that you see. It doesn't come with the game, but he did that for me because I would forget to do.
Well, I forget too.
Certain things, and so that helped me so much.
So if you don't see our previous video, it can trigger things. When you complete a certain area, it may trigger something, and then that might trigger something, that may trigger something. So we use the beads to keep track, so we don't forget.
Right.
Because if you forget to trigger something, you may get an unfair advantage.
That's right.
To your opponent, and so that's the only thing I wish that the game had come with.
And I think it's really neat to build this farm, to pretend like you are, a farmer. I really like that aspect. I don't like the fact that there's no player interaction. That part is kind of a bummer.
It's basically playing solo.
But other than that, I really, really like this game. I would definitely play this like a lot, and we have.
Well, the solo, you could potentially choose a die that your opponent wants to use, but you're basically looking out for yourself. If you do that, it's pretty much unintentional.
Yep.
So
What's
my
your
number three is, you've already talked about it, Foundations of Rome.
Oh.
Now, why did I rate that so highly? Because this is a game that you're going to want to take out and play with other people. You're going to be like, hey, you want to play a really cool game that's all blinged out and it looks great on the table? This is the game to play. And it's accessible. So in my opinion, it's like when you would want to introduce people to the hobby, you would play Carcassonne or Settlers,
right,
or Ticket to Ride. This is that next level where you would say, like, okay, now you're ready to play this. The only problem is it's so expensive.
Oh.
But it has a lot of replayability because there's certain, you got modules you can plug in. You can play with the monuments. There's even a cooperative mode. I think that we did play the cooperative mode too.
Oh, okay.
So it's a sweet spot. It's easy to learn, teach with short playing time. It's an underrated strategic option. Some people think it's too simple. It really isn't. Especially with the modules, it adds enough strategy that it's not people should not dismiss it.
No.
So there are some rules around it, and modules needed more elaboration. There's a lot of rules questions on BGG, so that's the only negative about it, that they should have added a little bit more explanation in the rule book. So what is your number two?
Keep the heroes out.
So
You've already talked.
No, we haven't talked about Keep the Heroes
this
Out.
shit.
I haven't talked about Keep the Heroes Out.
So that means it's his number one.
You don't know what it is yet. I've only done number two and number one yet.
This is true.
I haven't done
number two.
Maybe. You'll find out. So we backed this on Kickstarter, and I didn't realize.
I love this.
Well, let me explain what it is.
Okay.
It's a cooperative game. However, with an expansion, you can play competitively. You are the bad guys, and you are trying to prevent the heroes from stealing your treasure. So you are going to draw cards like that, or they will appear in different locations. It will tell you where they will appear, and they will they will do damage. They will steal your treasure and do damage to the monsters that you're playing. So Julie's playing the imps and I'm playing the dragon. The cool thing about it, though, is that even if you lose your dragon or imps, they can come back. Because it's a hand management game. You have cards that you're going to draw and play. You have a time limit, so you're trying to survive the game until the heroes run out of their cards. And you can upgrade. So it's a deck building game where you can get cards that are on the right, well, actually in the middle there, to add to your hand to make your cards more powerful. But you only have so much time to do that before the hero, because the first round you're going to get so many heroes out, and the next round it increases. So like a video game, as the game plays on, the heroes get stronger as you get stronger.
Right.
So why is this your number two?
Well, you said it in the beginning, it's a cooperative deck building game, and I love cooperative games. I love the art on this. It's just so nice. It's just, they did a fantastic job on the art.
The designer is the artist too, I believe.
Oh, really?
I think he is.
Gosh, it's amazing. I love the components. I love like the little people you play, the bad guys you play. The pieces are chunky. They feel good in your hands. They're cute. They have cute faces and stuff. It's just, oh my gosh. The playtime is great with 2 players. If you have maybe 4 players, you might have some downtime, which is kind of a bummer. But for the most part, it's just so smooth and it's so fun. And it's fun that you're trying to play together to win and keep those heroes away from getting their treasure and stuff. And there's no player domination. Like, you are really, like, I can hold my own with this. David doesn't have to tell me.
Right, there's enough options that it avoids analysis per alpha player.
That's it, yes.
Right.
Which is it 2? Is it 2?
Yeah, you'll find out. My number 2 you've already talked about, obviously, and that is the Scooby-Doo game. Now, why did I rate Scooby-Doo so highly? Because this is a game that you're going to pull out with people who love Scooby-Doo and say, let's play Scooby-Doo. And because it's cooperative, you're going to have fun playing it together.
True.
I'm impressed with the pieces. Now, we did play the Mystery Machine wrong. The rule book needed to be a little bit more... It tells, at one page it says you can't do this, and then it confuses you when it says Mystery Machine can do that. So it needed to have an example.
Gotcha.
So it's a cooperative family fun puzzle game, because you're basically asking yourself, how can we prevent the ghost from winning? So the puzzle part is that you got to be able to use your cards and your resources in the most effective way, because you got to set traps to stop the ghost. The nice thing is, though, you can't tell each other what cards you're going to play, so that prevents the alpha player issue. That was really smart. You can discuss strategy, but no one's going to know what card you're going to pick, because they don't know what cards you have in your hand. So that's what makes it a surprise and adds some tension. So it's thematic art and quality miniatures. It has different ghosts and play levels. You can make it easy, hard, or really hard. It has cool card mechanics. The challenging surprises and ghosts on hard level, so we like playing the hard level. It's accessible to play at the expense of deeper theme. What I mean by that is that they could have made this a more complicated game, and I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
I don't want to have an overly complicated Scooby-Doo game. But it does have some ineffective referencing and challenging rule book. The back of the rule book is basically the referencing that includes there isn't very effective. But despite that, for experienced gamers, this is a pleasure to play, learn, and teach. So what is your number 1?
All right, ready? Drum roll. Flamecraft.
Yeah, I had a feeling that would be high up.
I love this game. Oh my gosh.
So Flamecraft, I've already explained.
Yes.
Tell us why it is your number 1 for 2022.
The art just melts my heart. It's just so cute. The dinosaurs are so adorable. The names that they have are just funny. It's cute. I think the worker placement part of it is really interesting. I like that, you get to go where you want, and sometimes the other player might get there before you, but it's okay. You still have other options. So
no, you can still go there. It just will cost you a resource.
Right. It will cost you. Yeah. But if you don't want to spend your resource, you go somewhere else. The pieces, the quality of the pieces are really nice. And did you say this is an upgraded version?
Yeah, this is the Kickstarter version.
Okay, well, I love the pieces. I really do. And I like that the playtime is very doable for 2 players. It's not going to drag on all night. You can get this to the table, play it, and be done in about a half hour, which is really nice.
Nice family lightweight game.
And I like that there's some player interaction, too. And you're not playing solo, which is really fun. And I don't know, I just love it. I am so happy we have this game. It's just a fun, beautiful, lightweight family game, and that's right up my alley. And that's why it's my number 1 of 2022.
When I say lightweight, it's really light, medium weight, because there's enough going on that someone who's not used to the hobby could struggle.
That's true, but we play a lot, so I do okay.
So my number 1.
I know what it is.
If you've been paying attention.
Yes, keep the heroes out.
Keep the heroes out. And that's because this is a video game that I grew up playing.
Oh, it's a video game.
It's like a video game, I should say, where you are trying to prevent the game from beating you. And the fact that it's cooperative. The designer here has a hit. They should make a computer game version of this. The pieces are outstanding. I love the tiles. It has scenarios. I forgot to mention that. It has so many scenarios. It's just that replayability is so high. And with the expansion and the Cthulhu expansion as a monster that you can play, I'm just really impressed. It's one of those designs that you wished, as a designer, having designed games and published them, I wish I would have designed. So it's highly engaging, cooperative, asymmetrical. In other words, you have all these options. You can play the dragon, the skeletons, the witches, the slimes. We played the slimes once, and they split in half. That's a lot of fun.
That was fun.
It's a deck building defense game. This is fun, and this is why Nightfall would have been higher up, but given a lower number, if this hadn't come out. So this kind of fired Nightfall.
Yeah, I agree.
Doesn't mean I won't play Nightfall again. I'll play this over Nightfall, though.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a quality pieces and thematic art. It's highly replayable with difficulty options. You can play easy mode, hard, and then you got modular boards and scenarios. You can play one-shots, or you can play even chronicle modes where it's like a little campaign. It's a nice balance of chaos and options to reduce alpha gaming group solo play, because that can happen in these cooperative games. You're basically playing together as solo. Here, you can run around and do things and not worry about if you screwed up too hard. Now, you when there's getting too many heroes or too close to your treasure, you got to do that. You gotta, hey, we can't let them run around.
That's true.
But there's enough options that you're not going to have one player dominating. Now, a neutral is the 4-player mode. Has a limited number of turns and downtime. I would not play this in the 5-6 player mode. I guess you can even go that high. I don't know how you can do that. The sweet spot is 2 and 3 players, and I think he's working on improving the rules for higher player counts. Now, the rulebook is a challenge, so that was a negative. You got to be experienced because there's things. The setup is difficult to get right because it's in 2 different books. And it doesn't have the context to do it right. And then there are rules in different places that you really got to pay attention to play it correctly. This is why there's a lot of questions on BGG posted all the time about it. So the rulebook needs an overhaul when it comes out with the 2nd edition. Other than that, this is a game that I rated a 10. And I don't rate that many games a 10.
No, he doesn't.
And I'm happy to play this game, and we've played it many times since we filmed it.
It's true.
So that is our top 50 of 2022. Hopefully you've enjoyed all 5 videos. And please check out our other videos.
And please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.